What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mindful Morning Minutes. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you here today on this fine, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful morning. Say hello to us in the comments.
Let us
yeah,
know where you're
hello.
at. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So we've got an awesome show for you guys today. We're really excited about sharing today's information with you guys and doing a very fun little exercise to help really solidify it and help you with whatever it is that you're working on. We always try to give you something that will really benefit you and help everything just flow easier. And good morning to you, Walt. Um, so, what up, Melanie? Hey, Judy. What's up? Good morning, everyone.
Good
Very
morning.
cool. Our software now tells us really easily when people are commenting, which is nice. So, we're so excited to get sharing with you guys today's show, today's information, today's stuff. And if you're watching at home later, also leave a comment because we'll still say hi and we'll still join you guys. And yeah, we're really happy to get going and getting into it. Julie, do you
Yes.
have any housekeeping stuff before we get going into it?
Yes, so many things, right? How are you all feeling? I don't know if any of you, let us know your thoughts on this. Some people love New Year's resolutions. Some people not so much. Some people dive into them every year and love the outcome of it. Some people dive into them every year and feel frustrated by it. And typically it's right around this time. So Earl and I know because we've been working with clients now for so many years and part of their growth and manifestation. And oftentimes there are very high hopes in January, sometimes so high that we can possibly set some unrealistic goals for ourselves. And right around this time, people start to feel a little bit of burnout or a little bit of frustration, possibly with themselves. And if you're there, I promise you, you are not alone. Nothing's wrong with you. You did not fail. Nothing is not going your way. Just trust in divine timing. Maybe look at the goals you set, and you don't need to be realistic, because what is realistic, right? Realistic just means you're falling into categories that society set for you, or that your parents or your peers or your company, your workplace set for you. And you don't need to be limited by any of those things. So it's not that we think that you need to be realistic. We just think that maybe look closer at the goals you set and realize they're still possible. They're still possible for you. This is going to be an amazing year. So we just want to encourage you to be gentle and kind with yourself wherever you are. If you didn't set any specific goals or New Year's resolutions, start thinking about what is important to you this year and really get clear about that so that you can welcome it in, because this is a powerful year. This 22, there's something to that. So just trust that things are easily able to happen for you this year with ease and grace, stepping into kind of an expedited level of manifesting, of achieving your goals. And we're going to talk to you today about your unconscious mind, because as you know, all of our automatic responses, our behaviors come from our unconscious mind. So knowing that and how your mind works is going to help you to get where you want to be.
Absolutely. And we do want to say, grab a piece of paper if possible for our thing later after this little demo. But yeah, but let's get right into the theory of mind. Like we Julie and I learned this at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, where we got all our hypnosis training. And this is from Dr. John Kappas. This is a really awesome way of explaining what's going on in your subconscious mind in such a way that it could be easily expressed and understood. And so that's why we use it as our kind of favorite model of why you do what you do, even when you're like, why am I doing this? It's as so often happens to many of us. We start something, or just like the New Year's resolution, suddenly it's like, oh, I can't do it, and we're like, why is this? And oftentimes it's just some sort of programming that you have in your mind. It's just some sort of like a program that's running in the background that's saying you can't do something. And so this is why that is. So here onto the fancy screen we got here. So you're to think about this. If this was your mind, demonstrated by this beautiful circle, and we've got this area that we're calling the primitive area, and you can think this is like the amygdala. This is your automatic responses to what's going on. It has like some basic responses that are going to happen. So if you think about like this is your lizard brain, like if you ever seen a lizard and you try to catch it, it's like it's going to do one of three things, and it's going to try to bite you, it's going to try to run away, or it's just going to freeze there and like play dead. And you think about like the deer in the headlights, that same thing. It's just like it doesn't know what to do sometimes, so it either turns its head to hit your car, or it'll try to run, or it'll just stop. And we do the same thing. This is our kind of our basic instincts that will come in. It's just like we want to fight something, we want to run from it, or we will freeze when we feel that there's danger present. When there's big danger present, that's what's going to happen. And so in modern times, you can't fight your boss because he was rude to you. So you might just get really anxious. You just get really anxious because your mind is telling you to fight it, but you can't just fight everything. That wouldn't work. You would just go to jail. It would have been a very easy, not easy. It would have been a very quick life. You went boom, fought the first thing that, oh, you're in jail. And so we don't just do that in polite society. And you could also have a flight response. If things aren't going well in life, you just want to up and leave is what your mind may be telling you to do. But you can't do that. You have a life. There's so many things going on, and you can't just up and leave every time something's hard. And that's why we have more than just a primitive area in our mind. But if a flight response might make you feel depressed because your mind is telling you, we've got to go, we've got to go, we've got to go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And you're just like, I can't. Where am I going to go? And it just feels bad. And so the last one is the freeze response. Now, this is for all of you procrastinators out there. What's happening is you're getting triggered into a freeze response because you kind of, if you think about procrastination, you're like, oh, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. And it's kind of the same thing as just freezing and trying to stay in the same place. That hit home for any of you guys? Who are my fighters? Who are my fleers, and who are my freezers?
Who's all the above? Because sometimes this can be like a cyclical thing where we have a pattern of all three.
And hello to everyone else watching: Brenda, Erica, Lupita. Welcome. And also and the rest of you whose names I may have missed. So as we're going through this, so basically what's happening in our mind is we have this in our subconscious mind is we basically will identify something, find out where the association is, and then it'll create a response. And these are just our automatic habits that happen. So as we're growing up, we're developing these shown by these pluses and minuses, positive and negative associations to things. So if you have an association like you really like, or like you get cake for your birthday, you get a nice chocolate cake, and that's like, ooh, yummy cake. Well, maybe when you're older, it might not make sense to eat a bunch of cake all the time, but it may feel like safety. So your mind may have a positive association to it. And then when your goal is to maybe some sort of weight loss or something, or releasing some weight, you might keep moving back to cake because you're uncomfortable with having to make a change and you have a positive association behind it. So this is kind of like just one of those ways the mind may trick you sometimes is you really want something, but you also in your subconscious mind may not have that association. So the same is true with negative associations. You might have, if a parent maybe yelled at you and was like, how could you do that? You're this old and you know better. Like, you know better, right? And how many of us have heard that before? Right? Like, you know better. And it's like in that moment, well, you must not have known better, or you were looking for attention, or you made some sort of change, you did something, right? And really what happens is you kind of get this like shame, blame, and guilt around that thing. It's like, so then when you're an adult and you make a mistake, it might show up like, I'm so stupid. I'm horrible. I have this. And it creates a limiting belief. And of course, that's not the parent's fault. They might have been frustrated. They might not have just known not to use that sort of language, but that can create, like we were saying, an association, that like a negative one now, that when you do something wrong, you instantly think you're stupid. And that's just not true. Part of the ways we learn is through making mistakes. And so there we go, there are positives and your negatives. And so
Melanie, totally, the freezing, yes, absolutely, we all feel that. And then at times going through all of them, we all do that.
So really what's like 88% of what's going on in our day-to-day lives is just this subconscious programming. So it's much like there's that some sort of identification of something, and your mind really quickly finds an association, and then you have a response. But it's based on these automatic responses. So it may be that you have all these, you want to do something, but it's just not really meshing with what your programming is. And so that's the benefit of subconscious reprogramming and unconscious mind, and the work we do in hypnotic trance. So it's really between the ages, like up until you're about 8 or 9, that you develop even the ability to, that we call it the critical mind. And that's where your conscious processes come in. Right? Before that, anything anyone tells you, you basically believe. So if a parent's like, hey, it's cold, go grab a sweater. And it's like, okay, oh, it's cold, I'm grabbing a sweater. Well, by the time you're around 8 or 9, you'll start to think, oh, well, is it? The sun's out. It's, I don't even think it's cold. And you go and maybe you stick a foot out and you kind of test it. And so you have these, so you start to not just believe everything that's told to you. So before that, pretty much everything that's said to you, and you just kind of believe it. And so that's what's creating a lot of these beliefs. And so if we don't kind of correct the belief or change the belief, it might stay with you for longer than it needs to. And so so our conscious mind, that's our logic, our reasoning, our decision making, our willpower. So all of those that are really, all those important things that we do, like the ability to make a decision, our logic, our reasoning, that's happening here at the conscious level. But I mean, as you can see, if 88% is happening at the subconscious level, well, there's a lot less than you probably think going on with your conscious thoughts, right? Because that's only about 12% of what's happening. And of course, these numbers, 10, 90, whatever, but basically most of what's going on in your mind is these subconscious processes. And so understanding that is important, because that way we can learn to, shift things and change things, because our conscious thoughts are going to be influenced by our environment, by our body, by things going on in our body. Maybe we get a feeling, and that feeling is going to trigger something in here, or some sort of thoughts might be floating around our subconscious, and it's going to work with something in here, and we're going to, there's going to be an association and response. That's why so many of us, it's like, oh, I got triggered, and so this is my feelings. It's really just this area just kind of being like, hey, we got to do something because we feel danger. When there might not actually really be danger present. It might just be a kind of triggered response or a learned response. And so these are things that we can help control with different ways, and help shift our physiological responses through heart breathing, like we've done in other ones, or different things like that. Or sometimes you'll feel something in the environment, and that will then trigger a response over here, because it'll remind us of something, one of these positives or negatives. And that there is what's going on in your conscious and subconscious mind, and why you maybe do some of the things you do.
Yeah, and it's also why Earl and I love hypnosis and hypnotherapy so much, because they've been studying the impact of hypnosis for a long time, and they discovered it way back in ancient Egyptian times, that it was the one way they found, and the quickest way they found, to bypass that critical mind, and to actually go in and put what we want in our unconscious mind. And that's why we come here. We bring you these unconscious techniques. We bring you the meditation, the hypnosis, because we're dedicated. We just want to see the collective, everybody out there, just step in to their best selves, to their best lives. So we are here. We're dedicated to helping you reprogram your unconscious mind to what you want it to be, to what you desire, to shedding all those limiting beliefs and stepping into what you truly are deserving and worthy of. So we are going to keep doing that. But if you grabbed your pen and paper and you have that somewhere close by, we're going to do a little exercise right now that will help you discover a little bit of what might be hidden in your unconscious. It's called unconscious for a reason, because we're not conscious of it. So sometimes it's hard to know what's our next step, or what do we need to work on just within ourselves or for an issue that we're currently facing in our lives. And this should help you with that technique. So if you have paper and pen, draw, if you will, a big enough, like pretty big on your piece of paper. Yes, that will help. So draw a rectangle or a square with 4 boxes in it. So if you can just do that, make your rectangle, give yourself enough room to write, and then drawing those cross lines in the middle. And in the first upper left-hand box, I would like you to describe yourself. And if you are facing a certain particular issue right now in life, then you can describe that instead. So either describe yourself or describe the issue that you're currently working on or currently facing. And go ahead and just take a few moments to write these things down. And remember, no one's looking, no one's peeking at your paper. So be honest with yourself without judging. Just the first thing that comes to mind, writing that down. Just writing it down. Don't think about it. It can be in a list format. It doesn't have to be sentences, but it certainly can. And just think, if you were telling us, if you were describing to Earl and I, describing yourself, how would you describe yourself? Or if you were describing to us your issue, how would you describe your issue? Good morning, Brenda. Carell.
So just describing yourself for the issue, just for a few more moments before we hop into our next box.
Yeah. And don't think about it. Just as you go through this, the first thing that comes to mind, just putting that down. And then we're going to hop over. So keep going. If there's more coming out, just let it flow. And for those of you who are ready to move on to the second box there. So at the top, in the second box, you're going to now start to write out, again, it can be sentence or list form, how do others see you? So explain, just as if you were telling us, how do you feel others see you? And if you're working on an issue right now and not on yourself, then you can write instead, how do others see or feel about your issue? How do others see or feel about your issue? And if you're working on yourself, again, repeating, you're just writing right now in a list or sentence form, however it comes, how do others see you? So how would someone else describe you? Or how would someone else describe your issue? Or feel about or see your issue? And just write down anything else that's coming to mind. So how others see you, or if you're working on an issue, how do others see or feel about your issue? And now keep going if you need to, but we're gonna move on to number 3. You can always come back to this recording, and if you do it again, you can do it once with us now on yourself and come back and do it again later on your issue. It's kind of fun to see both. So for the third one here, how do you feel about how others see you? How do you feel about how others see you? And if you're working on an issue, how do you feel about how others see or feel about your issue? And again, the first things popping into your mind, you can list, you can write sentences, whatever comes, describing, if you're working on yourself here, how do others feel? Sorry, how do you feel about how others see you? How do you feel about how others see you? And if you're working on an issue right now, how do you feel about how others feel about or see your issue?
As you're probably already noticing, this can be very illuminating, right? It's like, oh, because you don't normally just in your mind think about that. You just jump to one of these. You'll be like, oh, others are going to think this, or oh, I think this about myself, or and this, it's kind of important to see where your subconscious programming is taking that issue or just your view of yourself, because that's what that's how, because none of these are necessarily how it is. It's just how you're perceiving it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so now, if you've gotten some of those down, now I encourage you to look at your number 1 and number 2 boxes. If you're working on yourself, how you see yourself, how you describe yourself, what is the same and what is different about how you believe others see you. And let us know. Let us know in the comments or the chat. Are there a lot of differences? You can just say, differences or same. Are most of the things the same, or are you seeing some differences? Same or differences? Let us know in the chat what you're seeing. And how do you feel about that? And that's where we're taking you. Maybe everything is the same for you, and how you see yourself. Maybe you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you're fun, and everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows you're gorgeous, beautiful, and fun. And maybe everything's the same for you. Maybe you see yourself as a tall man with brown hair, and other people see you as a tall man with brown hair. And maybe it's the same. And then maybe it's not. Maybe you see yourself as a woman, a mother, a warrior, and maybe others see you as a homemaker, insignificant, not doing anything important. Maybe there are some differences there in how you see yourself and how you feel others see you. So just start to think about that. And then the 4th box, looking at this and what you've discovered, whether you're focusing on yourself or your issue, this should show you what your next steps may be. Your next steps to maybe areas for self-improvement, areas for healing, next steps in resolving that issue, coming to that solution. And you can write those down in the 4th box. Anything that came to you. So maybe it's identifying things within yourself that you might need some healing around, or areas to focus on. Maybe if you're focusing on your issue, you might have seen the solution in this, and finding that solution, those next steps for resolving this issue. And take a moment to write those things down. And obviously, ideally, and this is just ideally, this is what we're all working towards. And that's all of us, because you could do this today, you could do it tomorrow, and it could be very different. Because as Earl was saying, it's all our perception, and our perception is influenced by so many things each and every day. So the ideal would be that your number 1 and number 2 would be congruent. So how you're seeing yourself and how you feel others see you would be the same, and same with your issue. That would be the ideal. That doesn't mean that's the way it is right now, and that doesn't mean that anything's wrong if that's not the way that it is. That's just what this is all about. It's about discovering our next steps and discovering what we can do for healing, to find the solution, to find that wholeness and that balance within ourselves, and to love ourselves as you are. So I hope if you're looking at differences, then you're sitting there and looking anywhere where there was a discrepancy or anything negative, and just sending love to that right now. Love to it. If you see yourself as less than other people, then love yourself for seeing yourself that way, and let yourself open to seeing yourself the way Creator, your mother, whoever sees you. And if you feel other people are seeing you more negatively than you're seeing yourself, then love yourself and love them. Send that to them right now, and just heal that full circle. All right. Well, hopefully this gave you all a little bit of insight, whether it was into yourself or into an issue that you're working on, and gave you some next steps. And please do not take this in any other way as uncovering that unconscious. The unconscious is unconscious, and that's why we explain the whole theory of mind. And it doesn't mean these things are set in stone. Just simply doing this exercise, bringing this awareness and sending that love is enough to completely shift that for you. So thank you all for being here this morning, for joining us. We love sharing time with you, and feel free to come back to this recording and do it again, focusing on yourself, focusing on an issue, gaining that insight, finding those next steps, because that's really what your unconscious just opened up to you. It opened up a next step, and that's exciting.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming. Make sure to join us next week, and we will be, and keep watching our posts. We have an amazing challenge starting up on March 1st. And the reason we picked March 1st is because we know that that's when everyone's going to be needing the most little help. Because if you started with any sort of resolution, probably by then you've tapered off a bit, or it's been a bit hard. So we kind of picked the spot where everyone's going to need the most little bit of just boost. We've got an awesome challenge called the Honor Your Body Challenge. And so more details to come as we start sending out posts on that. But we wanted to share it with you today, and to give you time to be like, ooh, what is that? Oh. And really
invite others to join you. It's fun to do this together. It's more fun to do these type of things with friends, with family members, so you can share your changes, your experiences, your accountability. It's just fun to go through these experiences with other people and feel the shifts that come out of it. So it is going to be in March. Think about spring. So springing into that new year, that new season, into honoring your body, whatever that means for you. We're going to dive in on many levels. So we are excited for that. So keep watching for the posts, and we appreciate all of you being here, being with us, joining our Mind Euphoria membership, joining our Mind Euphoria group on Facebook. Thank you for your comments and sharing. We'll see you all next week.
See you guys. Thanks for joining.